Hey everyone, hello again and welcome to the How to Life podcast. I'm Dr. Laura Jagged and I am excited to share this episode with you. A few weeks ago in episode 7, Randi Levenbaum shared her story of how she made a goal at age 20 to retire early and ended up doing just that at age 43, which is without a doubt incredibly early. Well, that show got a great response with many requests to define some of the terms and techniques that Randi mentioned. So, because she's so awesome, Randi is back again on this episode to do more of a Q&A. Are you excited? I am. So, let's get started. Hi, Randi. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks so much for having me back.
We had a great response from your interview. It was very inspiring. People loved it. I've also received a lot of questions about some of the terms that you've used. So I would kind of like to do this podcast sort of more of like a Q&A.
I'm up for it. Let's do it.
All right. Your journey began at about age 20 on your Europe trip. You loved it and you decided that you wanted to do more of this. You decided you're going to retire early and you had to make a financial goal, a financial plan to do that. What does that mean? What does financial goal mean? And how do you figure it out?
Okay, so simply financial goals are just targets that you set. And you're setting this target to meet something that you want to do that costs money in the future. So I have 6 steps that you can use to set your financial goals. Step 1 is figure out what really matters to you and put everything down that you can think of, from the practical and necessary to the far-fetched and distant. Write it down, put it on the table for consideration, and then prioritize the top few goals. Put down which one you think is most important to you, then the next most important, and so on. So then you move on to step 2, and that is sorting out what's within reach, what's going to take some time, and what's going to be part of a long-term strategy. So you'll find that financial goals can be broken down into 3 categories based on how long it's going to take to achieve them. Short-term goals generally are achievable in less than 3 years. Some of these might be purchasing household furniture, making home improvements, saving for a car or a big vacation. The next type of goal might be a medium-term goal. This is usually something that is going to be between 3 and 7 years away. Some examples are saving for a down payment on a house, starting a business, saving for your child's college fund, taking a dream vacation, or even a sabbatical from work. And the third category is long-term goals that are generally 7 or 10 plus years away. Obvious things are things like retirement. Mm-hmm. Step 3 is to apply what's called a SMART goal strategy. And SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And the reason that we use the SMART goals is to make sure that we know what we're trying to achieve, and then we're going to move on to step 4, which is to create a realistic spending plan. A spending plan is where you write down and track every penny that you spend. All of your income you're going to track as well, so that you really know what resources you have to work with. So once you track how much you spend and how much money you have to accomplish your goals, you're going to figure out what you can set aside towards the goals that are most important to you. And you're going to use this new spending plan to make choices. These choices are about where to put your money that are in line with what you value. Then we're going to move on to step 5. In step 5, with any luck, you have taken a tough, realistic, well thought out spending plan, and it has allowed you to pay yourself first each month. When you pay yourself first, that's the money that you've set aside for your goals. And as your savings grows, you'll look for even more ways to keep increasing how much you can set aside for your personal goals. Whatever amount you decide to pay yourself first, have it automatically directed into a separate account designed to address the first couple of things on your list of priorities. Step 6, the final step, is to review your progress regularly. That means at least once a year, and tweak your goals as necessary. So let me give you an example of a financial goal to see how to put these 6 steps all together. My original number one goal was I wanted to retire early so I could have choices about how I spend my time and my life without having to have a job. So at age 23, I have to make a SMART goal. So how do I make this goal specific and measurable? The first 2 steps in making a SMART goal. Instead of saying I want to retire early, I'm going to change my goal to something like this. I want to accumulate 25 times my annual spending by the time I'm 55 years old so I don't have to work anymore. So now I have to estimate how much I want to be able to spend each year. If I look at how much I need to spend and how much I need to spend now and how much I want to be able to spend in the future, I can start to come up with a number. Let's say I would like to be able to spend $30,000 a year in retirement. And I already said I need to accumulate 25 times my annual spending. So now I need to accumulate $30,000 times 25 years. I have to make a giant money ball that's equal to $750,000. So the next part of the SMART goals is this achievable? Can I really do this? Well, I'd look online for a free savings goal calculator. They're widely available, and start plugging in these numbers. So the length of time that it takes to save $750,000 depends on how much I can save and how much I can earn on that savings over the years. The calculator that you find online will show you the monthly amount you need to save based on the percentage that you think you can get using an investment. So if I started with a goal to accumulate $750,000 and my current savings is zero because I'm starting from scratch, and I can commit to saving $300 a month towards this goal of early retirement, then I will give you a tip and help you with the rate that you can plug into your calculator. You can expect to earn, based on 90 years of historical data, in a mutual fund that invests in the S&P 500, 9.8%. Now, past performance is no guarantee of future results, but some of the smartest investors in the country highly recommend this type of investment for most people for long-term goals. So if we use the 9.8% investment return in our calculator, it will tell us that if our assumptions are correct, we will accumulate $750,000 in 32 years and 5 months. That would put us at age 55 and 5 months. So if I can commit to setting aside $300 towards this goal of early retirement at age 55, it is achievable. The next part of my SMART goal is it relevant? Well, is it reasonable and realistic? I'd say yes, if you are comfortable committing $300 a month to this goal for the next 32 plus years. So the last thing to check is it timely? Have I actually set a deadline to achieve this goal? Once again, the answer is yes. In my revised goal, I said I wanted to accumulate 25 times my annual spending by the time I'm 55 years old. So I have set a deadline to reach the goal. Now, we all know that life happens, and you can revise this goal along the way if you decide to save more towards this goal in the future, or the rate of return you assume goes up or down. But you have to have a starting place.
How do you determine need versus want? Expand on that a bit.
Okay, so let's think about where your money goes every month and the things that you really need to survive and to thrive. So, needs are things that are necessary to function. Wants are usually things that are optional or maybe luxuries. And the good part is you get to make choices. Take food, for example. You need to eat, but you do not need to overpay by eating often at restaurants. One can easily bring lunch from home. It's healthier. I can socialize with potlucks, barbecues, etc., versus meeting friends in bars and restaurants. If the goal is to socialize, it doesn't matter where we do it. I don't need to do it at an expensive dining place. If we take clothing, you need the necessities, but you really don't need a new pair of shoes every month just because they're cute. You need a place to live and you need to pay your utilities, but it doesn't mean that you need to have expensive items that are a house you can't afford. You need a house, you don't need a mansion. That would be a want. Transportation, affordable car means an affordable insurance payment. I, for one, saved my car payments before I bought the car. If I hadn't, I would have had to be making car payments on a loan to buy a car. So I just figured out how much those car payments would likely be for the car that I wanted, and I just saved them myself ahead of time. And then I bought the car for cash once I had saved up enough. Although there was one time I did want to buy a used car that I had saved up for, and by the time I went to see the dealer to buy it, a new car was actually less expensive. So it was the only time I actually bought a new car. Your entertainment. Everybody wants to have fun. So you have choices again. Antennas still work on your TV. You can still get streaming options through your library. Enjoy your life. Make smart choices. An example I've often used with clients over the years is I asked them what they did for fun. And they told me that on the weekend they'd meet their friends and go to dinner and see a movie. And the only thing I asked them to do differently was see the movie first and have dinner afterwards to talk about it, because a matinee was going to be much less expensive than the movies later in the evening. They got to do exactly what they wanted to do. They just changed the order and they had just as much fun.
So you just prioritize, and everybody's priorities are different.
Exactly.
For you, your particular priorities were not having a car payment. You didn't really care about cable TV. Libraries were great. You can get movies from the library, books from the library.
You can get Wi-Fi hotspots from the library. So by making these choices over the years, I always spent substantially less than I made. And by doing that, it also made it much easier for me to retire because I was used to having a very low cost of living. My expenses were always low, which means I had to save less to be able to retire. That was always a bonus.
And you also, because you lived well below your means, you learned how to be very satisfied. So you never felt like you were wanting for anything.
No, I made a priority of doing the things I really enjoyed. I played sports, I traveled, I had fun with friends, and I was a voracious reader for much of my life. Books are free at the library and I can get as many as I want. Now I don't even have to go to the library. I can download them. How great is that?
You had mentioned, I think, in the last interview about visualizing where you wanted to be. Tell me about that.
So one of the things I can suggest to you is when you're making your goals, you want to try to be very specific. So when you're visualizing something that you are anticipating that you think you will enjoy, think very specific about it. So say, for example, we use my goal of, quote, early retirement. What does that mean to you? How do you envision spending your day-to-day life in retirement? Be as specific as you can. How are you going to fill up your day? So as you contemplate what you want your life to look like, start thinking about the small steps you can take to actually get there. So besides your financial goals, think about your interests. Try out a few things. See if that's really what you want to do.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start saving money?
So I started saving money probably when I got my first part-time job as a 16-year-old. I had a goal, like most 16-year-olds. I wanted a car. Nobody in my family was going to buy me a car, so I had to save for it.
All right.
So when I was a little kid, I had a piggy bank, just like a lot of little kids. And then by the time I started with part-time jobs, then I had a local bank, just a savings account. And so I just started saving the way that most people saved.
Why is opening a savings account important?
Well, a savings account lets you put your money in a place that is actually insured. So banks are insured by part of the US government, and it's called Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It's an independent agency of the United States government that protects you against the loss of your deposits. So if a bank fails, your money's still safe.
If the
So
bank gets robbed, your money is safe.
your money is always going to be safe.
So that's the benefit of putting your money in a savings account in a bank.
Absolutely.
Can a savings account make you money?
So if it's an interest-bearing account, which means that they're going to add money to your account on a regular basis because you have parked your money there in a savings account, then yes, you can make money.
Why does the bank give you money in the form of interest?
So because you've parked your money at a bank, they're actually using part of your money to make loans to other entities. It could be a person, it could be a business. And so they're lending it out. They're getting interest from the person that borrowed it from the bank, and they're giving you part of that interest in the form of adding money to your account on a regular basis.
Can you have more than one savings account?
You can have as many savings accounts as you want, but check, there may be some fees involved. So ask a lot of questions if you're interested in having a bank savings account. What happens if I want to take out my money? Is there a limit of how often I can take my money out? Oftentimes you'll find that it is a very safe place for savings that you're probably going to need in the next year or 2 or 3.
How soon should one start saving?
As soon as you're able. If you're a kid and you get gifts in the form of money or checks for your birthday, for holidays, oftentimes you can spend some, you can save some. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can do a little of both.
What's the age limit for opening a savings account?
So because a savings account is a contractual obligation between you and a bank, most banks will not have an account for someone that is under 18 years old without also having the parent or guardian sign for the account and help create it.
That is correct. I have a child who is 12, or she's 13, but we opened an account when she was 12 and it's in my name. But it's very beneficial because it is already teaching her how to look at how much money she has. If she wants to buy something, she makes sure that she has enough to cover it. So it's just teaching and instilling those skills in her right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great exercise for kids, and it's a way to start learning about how to get even more money by letting it grow for a period of time.
What other type of bank accounts can help you grow your money?
There are a few bank accounts such as CDs, which is called a certificate of deposit. It's usually a place where you have to leave your money in for a set period of time. It may be as short as 3 months. It could be a year, 2 years, 5 years. Currently, CDs or certificates of deposits don't necessarily pay much greater than an ordinary savings account And both of those are pitifully small amounts that they're earning.
At the moment.
At the moment.
Right. Now, typically a CD will earn you a little more money because you are promising to not touch your money you invested for a certain amount of time. Whereas with a savings account, you can take it out and the amount fluctuates.
That's true. And also in nearly every CD, if something unexpected comes up and you have no other place to go to get money, you can withdraw money from a CD, but you may forfeit all of the interest that you may have earned. You have to do your homework and check around because different banks pay different rates. Mm-hmm. Currently, some of the highest interest rates that you can earn are not at brick and mortar banks you can walk into at all, but they're available through online banks. They work just like a brick and mortar bank, but because their expenses are less to operate, they're able to pay a significantly higher interest rate.
Are those banks safe? Are they
they're insured the same as your regular neighborhood bank.
How do you withdraw money? Like from an ATM machine, let's say.
So currently for those banks, you would link it to your neighborhood bank, like where you have your checking account. You will give the online bank your neighborhood bank account information, and you will electronically transfer money between the accounts. So the checking account is probably not paying any interest. Mm-hmm. So you want to leave the least amount of money possible in your checking account that's not earning any extra money, probably about a month or a month and a half worth of your expenses. And the rest can go into this online savings account that you transfer the money in electronically. It's paying interest monthly. It's a much higher rate of interest than you would get in a savings account at your neighborhood bank. Check out the restrictions. There's usually no fees, but they may limit the number of transfers you can do back and forth. I think my current account says I can do it 6 times as far as withdrawals. I can add to it as much as I want.
I see. So the brick and mortar one is just to keep a minimum amount in there so that you're able to move it between your online account.
Exactly. Easily. So it's a saving. It's a place to save money that's going to give you probably more interest than even a bank CD.
How can one manage their expenses, Randi? What sort of tools can they use?
So it doesn't have to be complicated. If you have very simple finances, you're just starting out, you can do it with paper and pencil. You're going to write down all the money you have coming in. You're going to see how much goes out each month. You're going to set aside some money for some of your goals. Hopefully you still have some money left at the end of the month. If you don't have money left at the end of the month, you got to start cutting expenses, increasing income, changing how much you can afford towards your goals. Hopefully increase your income and decrease your expenses.
Are there any programs that you like? Apps?
Yeah, I've been a Quicken user. It's a software program. You have to pay for it on an annual basis now. It's now a subscription service. I'm sure that in the current age, there's a multitude of other software programs and apps, many of them free. If you Google personal finance software free, I'm sure you'll have a list that you can try out and see if it works for you.
So, Randi, you still managed to have lots of fun, your definition of fun, while you were saving a lot of money. How does one not waste money on fun?
Well, I would say something is only a waste if you don't value it. If you choose to spend money on something fun, by all means enjoy it. If that spending means you can't use those dollars on a goal you have, own it. You made a choice, and life is all about choices that you make.
Randi, in the last episode, you mentioned a couple of terms like spending plan and a budget. Talk about spending plan versus budget. What does that mean?
Okay. When you have a plan to spend, doesn't that sound fun? And you have a budget, doesn't that sound like
restrictive.
Eating vegetables?
Yes. So it's a mental thing.
So a spending plan is something that's actionable, it's positive. It's a mindset where you are in control of the decisions about where your money will be spent ahead of time. And it's a healthy view of your financial life. It addresses both short-term expenses and long-term goals.
I love that. So what was your technique to lay out your spending plan?
Well, I had these goals. Usually they were, of course, the retirement early that morphed into retire at 55, that morphed into I'm retiring at 43. And I had goals to fund a business, buy new cars, save for down payments on houses. So I tried to find a way to fund those goals first. You'll often hear people say, pay yourself first. So before I figured out the rest of my bills and expenses, those goals were super important to me. I'm paying for them first. Then I'm going to use the rest of my money towards my expenses, and I have choices about my expenses. Mm-hmm. If for some reason there's a shortfall, go find a way to make some more money. Don't stop funding your goals. There's a myriad of ways to come up with some extra money every month.
Define income for me.
Income, all the money that's coming to you. It could be a salary, your paycheck. At tax time, it might be a refund. If you're unemployed, you get unemployment payments. You might get gifts. You might get rebates. You might get interest. You might earn money on your investments. You might have a business and it makes a profit. All of those things are income.
Good. You mentioned a good word here. What is an investment?
So an investment is simply a way of using your money to purchase an asset in the hope that that asset will generate income over time or go up in value. An example of an asset might be a house. Mm-hmm. The value of your house may go up over time so that the price you paid when you bought it is going to be lower, hopefully, than the price you get when you decide to sell it. That makes your house an investment.
Other than a house, what other things can you invest in?
Well, one of the first things you can invest in is yourself, and that's through education or learning a new skill. Traditional investments are things like mutual funds, stocks, bonds, real estate, precious metals like gold and silver.
Before you go further, what's a mutual fund?
So simply, a mutual fund is a professionally managed investment portfolio that allows investors to pool their money together to invest in something. Commonly, it would be stocks and bonds. So go ahead, ask me what a stock and a bond is.
That's the next question.
I'm with you.
Go ahead.
So a stock is a type of investment that represents an ownership share in a company. A stock is an investment, and when you purchase a company's stock, you're purchasing a small piece of that company called a share. And investors purchase stocks in companies that they think will go up in value. You're buying into the company, if you will, so that if the company does well, either the stock share that you purchased will go up in value when you want to sell it. Sometimes the companies will pay you a bonus, sometimes every 3 months, maybe once a year, and it's usually called a dividend. A bond represents a loan made by an investor to a borrower. Typically, a company or a government would be a borrower. Bonds are used by these companies and the government to finance projects and operations.
So how did you decide what to invest in, Randi, you personally?
Basically self-taught. In my day, it was magazines. Today, it would probably be the internet. And I figured out that for me, mutual funds were probably the best place to balance how much I could earn from them versus how much risk I was willing to take. And the risk occurred through the value going up and down over the years. And understanding that the ups and downs and the risk is what actually made them valuable. And if I could hold on long enough and ride through those ups and downs, I would likely benefit by taking that risk. And so that's why mutual funds are best suited for long-term goals. They work best when you hold them for a long time, many, many years. The longer you can hold these mutual funds for your longer term goals, the more likely they're to be successful for you. They're usually not suitable for short-term investments because they can fluctuate in value over a year or two, but tend to do very well when you hold them for 10 plus years.
It's a relatively safe investment if you're in it for the long haul.
For many investors that have long-term goals that are 7 to 10 or more years away, it is often recommended that you use a mutual fund that invests in the S&P 500. It's an index that is commonly used in the financial markets to track the overall stock market in the United States, how all stocks or most big company stocks in the United States are doing.
Do you need to have a manager or a planner help you?
It depends how confident you feel in your abilities. If you really have no idea what even questions to ask, it might be helpful to have a financial planner get you started. But don't be afraid to think that they know something you don't know. For most small investors, and believe me, small investors are anybody that is investing $1 million or less, with as little as $25 or $50 a month, you can get started with a mutual fund. And you can see how they work for you. You can see how much they fluctuate in value. See if that suits your temperament. Start to educate yourself to not look at them every single day. It'll drive you absolutely insane. Look at them year by year, and you won't see all the ups and downs that they take. And when you don't see them, you don't worry about it.
What does reinvested mean?
So reinvested means you have an investment, and periodically you get earnings from that fund because it's done well. You have the option to take that money when they give it to you and use it for anything you want, or put it right back into the fund and let it grow and grow and grow.
In your last interview with me, when you were telling about how you save money, you talked about putting your money in an IRA and a Roth IRA. What do those things mean?
So an IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. As long as you have earned income, you can contribute money to an IRA each year. And depending on how much your overall income is, it may or may not be deductible on your taxes. Once you put the money in, it continues to grow. And in most cases, you are able to take it out once you turn 59 and a half. If you pull the money out, except for a few special circumstances, you will have to pay taxes on that money and a penalty. So IRAs should only be used for long-term retirement savings. If you think you might have to pull the money out, the IRA is probably not the place for you.
And what's a Roth IRA?
So a Roth IRA means you put the money in this Roth IRA retirement account. You get no tax benefit currently, but down the road, after you're retired, 59 and a half, you want to pull the money out. Not only do you not have to pay taxes on what you put in, you don't have to pay taxes on any of the earnings either. You're making a choice to not get a tax benefit now with the idea that when you retire and take the money out, you won't have to pay any taxes on everything you've put in plus what it's grown to. Also, a Roth IRA doesn't have those same penalties if an emergency or unforeseen circumstance comes up and you need to pull some money out, you can pull out whatever you have contributed to it with no tax penalty. However, you cannot pull out any of the earnings. That will incur a penalty. There's also several other benefits and characteristics for each of the accounts, and it's something that you should investigate in detail before you invest in either one of them.
What's a 401k?
401k is the tax code section 401k, that created another type of retirement account that's usually offered by companies to their employees. Oftentimes, if you have a 401k available to you through your job, your company will match what you put in. And what you put in comes right out of your paycheck. So it's just an automatic deduction that you opt into, or in some companies, they automatically enroll you in a 401k. So if your company has a 401k and they match, you are giving up free money if you're not participating in that plan.
Now, what happens if you leave that job? What happens to your 401k?
So depending on how much is in the account, you can leave it where it is, or you can move it to a new company that you move to that has a 401k, or you can transfer it into your own personal IRA account. And there's paperwork where you don't touch the money. They will move it directly from your company's 401k plan to a new IRA that you set up. Do not touch the money. If you get a check sent to you, there could be a significant tax consequences to you. Make sure you do what's called a trustee to trustee transfer, which is where you never touch the money. It goes directly from your old 401k into your new IRA. You can go to almost any well-known bank, not my first choice, investment company, probably my first choice, and they will help you with all the paperwork. Some companies have what's called a vesting schedule, and the longer you stay with them, the more you get to keep the portion that the company matched when you also contributed to the plan. So you check the details with your specific plan at your specific company.
You have to know what your money's doing and know where it is. There's a lot of responsibility. It sounds like you're kind of like a CEO of you.
You're definitely a CEO of you.
What is a CEO?
Well, a CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer, and that Chief Executive Officer is the highest ranking executive in a company, and their primary responsibilities include making major corporate decisions, managing the overall operations and resources, leading the development of a company's short and long-term strategy, and creating and implementing the company's vision and mission. It kind of sounds like what you're doing. Yeah, you're responsible for your operations. You're responsible for the resources you have. You're responsible for the short and long-term goals. You have your own mission and your own values. You are the CEO of your financial life.
And the buck stops with the CEO.
Literally. No one's going to care more about your money than you do. So it's up to you to inform yourself. If you need help, reach out and get assistance. You don't think CEOs consult consultants all the time? You can do the same thing for your financial life until you feel confident that you can manage things on your own. So you set the goals, you set the values, you set your financial mission, and it's up to you to carry it out.
So what does net worth mean?
So net worth is a concept where you're taking a snapshot in time, a report card of your finances, if you will. And the net worth is simply adding up everything you own. I mean, your major assets, like your car has value, your home has value, your savings accounts, any investment accounts, things that you own. So you're going to add up the major things that you own, and you're going to subtract anything that you owe, a mortgage, any loans, credit card debt, And whatever's left over is your net worth.
Okay.
And that's a number that you want to go up over time. That number will tell you that you're getting closer and closer to your goals. In the short term, it may fluctuate up and down, and you can look at the underlying reasons why that might happen. But over time, an increasing net worth tells you that you're successfully heading towards your goals.
What is good debt? How can that help you?
So for me, I only ever use debt to help me acquire an asset that increased in value.
Explain that.
So for example, I can't afford to pay cash for a house, especially when I was first starting out. I could save up enough for a down payment, but I needed a bank to give me a loan to be able to purchase the house. I anticipated that the house would go up in value over time. So as I was paying off my mortgage, which was a loan, the value of my house kept going up. So the debt was helping me afford an asset that was going to go up in value over time. Oftentimes, people use a loan, which is debt, to pay for a car. Think about what you know about cars. If you go buy a new car, as soon as you drive it off the car lot, is that car worth more or less than what you paid for it?
Considerably less.
We know it's considerably less. So now, if you're using a loan to pay for a car, you're not only paying the purchase price of the car, but you're paying much more of that over time because you have to pay interest on this loan. So you're paying more than the car was worth to begin with for an asset, the car, that's going down in value. So if you can't afford the car and you need the loan, you probably need to rethink if you really need that specific car. Because what are you using that car for? Are you really using the car to get somewhere as transportation? There's probably a lot of cars you can buy that are much more affordable that won't cause you to lose money.
And everybody has their own definition of what their little luxuries are. So if having a nicer car is important, then they need to look elsewhere and perhaps cut out things that they don't care about so much.
Absolutely. Or find a way to have some sideline money to afford that car. Mm-hmm. Try to get that car without having the loan. But once again, it's a choice. We know that there's car aficionados, and that's their thing. By all means, enjoy whatever your thing is.
And own it. You also mentioned credit cards. What are your thoughts on credit cards?
So for me, credit cards have given me a lot of opportunities because I learned to use them wisely. First and foremost, never carry a balance. If you can't pay them off at the end of the month, do not use them. Mm-hmm. So I never carried a balance. But credit cards sometimes have sign-up bonuses. For example, they'll say, if you open this credit card and you spend $1,000 in the first 3 months, we're going to give you $300. Mm-hmm. Well, if I'm spending and using the credit card on things I was going to buy anyway, they're giving me free money. But I can tell you that those travel credit card sign-up bonuses and other points have paid for an awful lot of travel for me over the years because I never carried a balance. I paid them off every month, and I had some amazing trips.
What happens if you carry a balance?
It's just like when you've got a loan for that car. You're paying for assets that may even have been long gone, and you're still paying for them, plus interest. So let's say that you used a credit card to pay for a party. This party has happened. Everybody had a great time. This party's long gone. This party cost you, say, $1,000. You've been paying for this party because you never paid off the balance for 3 years. Your $1,000 party may now have cost you $2,000. You're still paying for it. That party's long gone. And you're paying way more for things than you would have if you just paid cash for them. So think about it. Was this party actually worth $2,000? It probably wasn't. Credit cards are a convenience. They're not a crutch.
That's a beautiful phrase. Randi, thank you so much for taking the time to answer all of these questions. I have a feeling we're going to have some more questions, and I would love to have you back on the show again to go even a little bit more into certain areas.
I would love to come back again. This is really fun for me. And if anybody has any kind of questions or concerns, please contact Dr. Laura Jaggett, and we will have some more material coming for you very soon.
That sounds awesome. Randi, you're fantastic and inspirational and knowledgeable. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you heard the lady. Let's hear your questions. No question is too simple, unimportant, or insignificant. We're all here to help each other and to learn. And Randi said she's happy to come back and discuss any topic you want more clarity on, or even teach you something new in the financial realm, or about poker, or pickleball, or travel. The woman knows a lot of stuff. You can send your questions or comments to drlj@howtolife.com, drlj@howtolife.com. All right, coming up, we are going to learn how to buy a house next week. Please tune in as Kathy Castro and Judy Jackson from Realty One take us by the hand and break it down step by step what you need to do to get into the home of your dreams. And yes, of course, all the terms will be defined and explained. Make sure you don't miss it. Please subscribe to the How to Life podcast before you go to make sure you get all the episodes directly to your feed. If you have some time right now, I would so appreciate it if you would give this podcast 5 stars and maybe leave a nice review. Did you know about the How to Life YouTube channel? You may find it helpful in showing you how to do basic life skills, and perhaps you want to consider subscribing there as well. And lastly, feel free to share this podcast or the YouTube channel with your friends and family. Thanks so much for listening in again today. I wish you a wonderful week full of fun and ease and flow. Take care, everybody. You got this.